Hi, welcome. Oh, sorry, got a call on the dot, which is great. How's everyone?
I think Heather's just connecting to audio.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I can see. Hannah, so we've got Hannah and Heather.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fine. How are you all?
Good, thanks for
Thank
joining.
you.
We've got this slide at the back, but we'll probably take it down in a minute, just to kind of when everyone starts joining, or a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So I can see you all a bit closer then.
Thank you for all your help, Jade, as well. You've been helping me. I was on the wrong membership and then you helped me. So thank you very much.
Oh, there's two Jades, so that might be the other
Oh, yes. Okay. You might. Oh, okay. So you're not doing the memberships then?
No, I can't take credit for that.
Okay.
I'm a volunteer actually. I'm
okay.
help with the queries on the back of the transition.
Okay.
So yeah, there's two J's, which makes it quite confusing.
Okay.
How is it now? What's your background, Heather, out of interest?
I'm a coaching psychologist and a business psychologist. So I have a master's in occupational psychology, but
wow.
I've never really worked in occupational. I've always been in business and coaching. So
that's why ABP is quite a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Hi, Hannah, how are you?
Hello, hi, I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for joining.
I think Laura has joined as well. And
Brilliant.
Sue.
I recognise Sue's name actually. I hope this session can help clear up any queries that you have. Q&A, so I'm assuming you have a question to ask, which is always good to start.
Jade, did you get started and maybe we start recording? If everyone's all right, we record the session. It's just useful input or questions for other people. If you don't want us to, then please let us know.
Yeah, you happy for it to be recorded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, we've got another one. Brilliant, Julian.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the share if you want to do the welcome, Jade.
Yeah, perfect. Hi everyone, thanks for joining this session. We thought it'd be a good idea to put this on in light of the big transition that's occurring at the moment. My name's Jade Brooks. I'm a volunteer for the ABP and have been for around 7 months. Gone really quickly. I joined to help Steve Apps, who's a board member, to, I guess, essentially move this project from theory to actually in practice, and I've helped with all the kind of OD transition, all the emails. So I'm the person that you would receive the email from. Shivani's helped me massively with the kind of comms piece around that. And we moved, now we're in the portal stage, now we're actually in the transition stage. So we're here, we're actually transitioning our old membership titles into the new future. I could go on and on, but I guess it might be good to understand kind of what you want to hear from me today. So do you all have a query that you'd like me to answer, or should I just kind of talk through the transition overall and you can ask? That's quite good credit actually.
Hi everyone.
This is Steve actually. This is Steve who I feed into. Do you want to introduce yourself, Steve, actually, before I kind of take questions?
Oh, if you like, yes. So I'm Steve Apps. I'm, I guess, a long-term member of the ABP. I was a board member for a while, board member now, and was chair for a bit before Ben, who was the previous chair. So, hi everyone. And I guess I'm somewhat to blame for the pain that I'm causing you all. So apologies for that.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed it. Is everyone up to speed with, has everyone read the emails that have gone out and are now at a stage where they are considering what the new title is? Is that kind of everyone is?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
brilliant. Okay, so everyone's aware of the comms. Everyone knows there's a transition going, and that's a good first start. Shivani, did you want to introduce yourself while I kind of go? By the way, I didn't know whether you kind of give you.
I'm just Shivani Radway. I've recently joined the ABP, been helping the transition team with comms. So if you don't think anything's clear, then that's all you can feedback to us to know.
Thank you. So, right. So this is, like I said, Q&A. So I'll just kind of start with, I'll ask some questions, get a bit of an understanding of where everyone is, and then if you kind of want to ask me anything, please feel free. There's a chat function at the bottom if you don't feel comfortable speaking. but I can waffle on if you want me to, and just to talk about the transition in its entirety. But I guess you all have a question to probably want to know a bit more. So everyone seen the comms? That's great. Out of interest, what's everyone's, well, the old title? How many principal practitioners do we have here? Principal, yep, cool. How many practitioners? Well, I should have started with practitioners really, to start, or general members, I guess is the first one. Let's start again. How many general members do we have? Michael, brilliant. How many practitioners do we have? No. How many principal practitioners? Again, so we have quite that's the majority. And then do we have any, well, I guess fellows would just stay as fellows, so I guess we don't really have any fellows. Okay, so do you understand, let's start with some understanding around the new kind of categories. Who's looking to, for the CBP, so who's looking to go up to the certified business psychologist level?
Can I just say, sorry, Jade, I was a general member, but it was a completely wrong category for me to be in because I just hadn't really done all the due diligence and governance around my title and what I should be doing. And it was Jade who actually helped me when she saw my qualifications and my CV that I was actually completely on the wrong category. So I've just transitioned myself to be a certified business psychologist. Brilliant. But I really should be a principal because of all my experience. So I've gone through the first transition by default, really. I had to because I was completely on the wrong level. So
yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's kind of like, Steve, you feed in here, like one of the reasons for the transition, wasn't it? To understand our members, the level, experience, expertise, make sure it's the right level. Obviously, the new titles align with accreditation. So that's a good question, I guess, around, are you trying to understand what you need to do to go to the next level?
Yeah, and Jade was really helpful, and I'm now in the position where I understand now, and I realised that really I should have had, I suppose, more control over the membership, and not just renewed every year without really knowing, what it was, because I was 2 levels below what I should have been. So I guess now it's just a question of making sure that I actually am on the right level, and that I complete this framework as accurately as possible. I suppose that's one of the reasons why I'm here today, or whether I should just stay as a certified business psychologist, and whether that would have any disadvantages for me.
Yeah, and that's a good question, Steve, actually, because I haven't had a query about the kind of having the wrong title to start with and then being kind of transitioned into the CBP, then look at upwards. What would you think and suggest?
Well, Heather, I think you're a good case in point here. And first of all, I'm finding myself feeling like, saying, let's recognize everyone's abilities and knowledge and experience, no matter your current level. This is supposed to be a continuing professional development thing. So it's irrelevant which level you're at. I think this webinar is for you, right? That's the first thing. Heather, yeah, I remember looking at your initial application and thinking, hang on, I'm not sure you should be a general member. And I'm glad that kind of got back to you as it did.
Yeah.
So the answer is, if we're not we want to be as open and practical as possible in this. So I don't imagine it's the case for most of you, but if you're because most of you said you're a principal practitioner anyway, but if you're there thinking, oh, well, I'm not sure I'm at the right level, well, we can always change you to the right level if you just give us the right information, and then you'll then get the right email, if you like. We can send it again, the right email for you, so that you can then, follow the options that you've got there.
Brilliant. So what we're saying is that if you provide against the framework for Heather, to the more evidence and that aligns to that level, and then to send it across, we can then look at it.
I mean, Heather, I can't remember exactly in your case, but it sounds like you were allocated principal practitioner, having said yes, I have got the masters and the 5 years work-based experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, have you received the letter that you would have received if you were a principal practitioner?
No. Well, no, because I've just started the process of transition. So I've just on Friday I received the confirmation of certified business psychologist, but when I read the what it represents, I've got 20 years of experience, and I don't report into anybody other than my clients, so I don't think it really is the right fit for my experience. So now I've got to go through another transition, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And what we'll do is, Heather, we'll make sure that you get sent the email that most of the people on this call would have received, that then has that as, so you can then follow that process through.
Yeah, the emails are very targeted to what, obviously, the level that you wear. So if you, all the instructions are very clear, I find, on the letters, but we'll make sure you get the appropriate one to then follow on to the level you need. It sounds like what you said, obviously, without looking at your evidence in detail, that the certified principal would work quite well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, that's a good one. Does anybody else, anyone else in the similar scenario? Hi, Michael.
Yeah, so I might be very simple. I'm a general member and I'm pretty sure I'm at the right level.
Yeah.
And the email that I received, I just have a query about it, which is why I've jumped on the call. So currently I could, if I wish, use MABP after my name. I don't, but if I wished, I could.
Yep.
And I think the email is saying I can't do that in future. Does it preclude me telling people I'm a member of the Association of Business Psychologists? And does it preclude me putting it on a CV, for instance?
Oh, good question. I haven't had this one.
That's all and that's not why I'm a member, but
yeah.
That's I don't put MAPB because I'd have so many bloody letters after my name, would be ridiculous. So,
yeah. It's a long one.
I don't put any. So, but I do quite like being able to tell people I'm a member of the Association of Business Psychologists.
Yeah.
So can I do that?
I guess the answer is we're removing the kind of post-normals, aren't we, Steve? I don't remember. So I guess it would be no.
Well, no, you can, of course.
Can you still within?
Yeah, we want, we want to celebrate the ABP and get it out there. And how do you do that? It's through different methods. So what we've done, in fact, Shibani has done, is created these digital badges, which I don't know if we could quickly put one on screen or something. But Michael, if you haven't already, you should.
I've got a one that says member. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use that wherever you like, and you can say you're a member of the ABP, of course, because you are. It's just we took off the post-nominals for reasons which I hope are clear to you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the badge is the new, so basically the badge is replacing the post-nominals.
So I can use the badge. I can put it in my CV. I can tell, more importantly, I can tell my clients, which is important, I'm a member of the Association of Business Psychologists.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was focusing too much on the post-nominals, but yeah, the badge is the new way of the badge is the new way of saying you're kind of a member, and of course you can tell people that you're a member of the ABP. Nothing.
There we are. Yeah, I have one of those.
On the post-nominals then. Yeah, look at the new badge, it looks lovely.
It is really
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great. Well, listen, that's all I needed to find out. So can I go? There's no reason to stay, presumably, once you've answered my question.
Yeah, you carry on, Michael. Thanks for joining.
Listen, all have a very nice day. Thank you very much.
You
Cheers.
too. Bye.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Bye. Brilliant. Right. Any other queries around kind of the same, around understanding or anything on those lines, or anything different anyone wants to talk about? Any particular queries?
I'm assuming, because it looks like it, that the principal certified level is really a bit like you're kind of following the lead of the Chartered Management Institute and the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, where it's an experience assessment route, really, rather than having to have all the base level qualifications correct. It's more, have you actually done the job, and can you evidence it?
Yeah, I think, well, Steve, you're obviously the brain box behind this, but I'd say that's what we were following.
Yeah, okay. And being a chartered manager myself of the CMI, chartered fellow, there's so much alignment between what we're about here and what they're about. It's kind of, a lot of it's the same, but with a different slant. But yeah, so getting down to a nitty-gritty query, when I fill out the evidence matrix, particularly, because for all the other ones, there's word count details of how much information you're after, really. But for the evidence bit, I don't recall having heard or seen any information about how much information, how much evidence you're looking for, whether it's, you know, just a snippet or quite a chunk.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a good question, actually, and that's come up a few times. I guess it's just the demonstrable experience. If you feel that you want to put as much as you want in to demonstrate those concepts, and please do so. I think there's not exactly a word count, but I think it's as much as you want to share, as much as you've done. I guess there's an element of being concise, and accurate and getting to the point. You can do that, but I think there should, in the framework itself, there were some examples of how to kind of answer and produce and provide the evidence. It does. Steve, I'm not sure whether you agree with me, but I think it's how much you want to share.
Yeah, I think all I'd add to that is, what we've done is keep it quite open and actually not that much instructions, because people come from so many different perspectives, right? So some people, they've only got experience of 1 or 2 areas on that framework, but have loads of it. So we need to see that, because we're making the decision based on a very, on depth rather than breadth. Whereas if the breadth is there, then perhaps you need less in each one. And the other thing is to think, Julian, about what are the differences and what is it that we're looking for in business psychology as opposed to others. And I know that's not black and white, but, we're very much interested in, are you taking this end-to-end approach where, yes, there were objectives, I put in place a solution, I considered other solutions, but the solution was underpinned with psychology and frameworks, and why that was, that we understand the thought process behind that for choosing particular things, that you're connecting it to well-validated research, that the solution was put in place, that what the results were, and how the impact and how it was evaluated. And that's the business psychology end-to-end approach. And so somewhere within the application, if you've got a master's in occupational psychology, we kind of to some extent assume that you're doing that, but if not, we kind of need to see the evidence of it. Yeah, and equally, so the psychological underpinning is what is different. The words often are the same, but it's the underlying psychology which I think makes the difference. I'm chartered with the CIPD as well, so I don't know the CMI, but that's my assumption anyway on the differences.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Yeah, I think it can be quite overwhelming, I think, when you first look at it, but I guess we can only, that's our tool, as Steve said, to use to make sure that we're making the right decision for you and for us. But yeah, I think because I guess you can find yourself probably repeating yourself as well. But I think, I think that's a really good point, Steve, and good question.
The other couple of things I'd say from, having looked at some applications, and by the way, I'm not assessing all applications. If in fact I'm not, because, that I want to be, we need a QA for a quality assurance for it as well. So, but a couple of other things that I'd just point out that I think I noticed. So one is continuing professional development, as I'm sure you all know, isn't going on courses. It is, I had something I wanted to learn. Here's the things I did to learn from it, and here's what I learned from it and how it's changed my practice. Now that's CPD. It's not I attended a course. The other one, if you're going for the middle level, the principal one, is it's not just I've led teams, because you could be at a fairly low level and have led teams. It's more that you are starting to mentor and support others in becoming professional business psychologists. Yeah, and that wouldn't necessarily be just the people in your team, it would be more broadly than that. So it's more mentoring and leadership within the profession than it is just, I've led a few people in my team.
Yeah.
Which of course we can do without being in the hierarchy of an organization.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's useful. Can I just ask one supplemental question on level of detail you're after? You want us to upload a CV for the middle one. Having given a fair chunk of information in the evidence matrix, can the CV be quite skeletal? Good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I suppose that's kind of lot of information. Yeah, I think it's just a backup, and also the qualification as well. You can add that to the document.
Yeah.
It just gives helpful context. We look at the whole thing as a whole. So if you think, look, I've got a 20-page CV that covers everything, then you don't need to fill in so much on the matrix. No.
Oh, okay.
Whatever works for you.
Can I
Does that
ask-
answer? Yeah, sorry, Sue. Yeah.
And I've had the benefit of your input already, Jade, so thank you for helping. But so you know all this, but you know, I practice in psychology, but my master's is in HR management. And although I've got qualifications in all the psychometrics, so you know, level A, level B, level B plus, RQTU, and all that kind of stuff, I always feel an imposter when it comes to psychology. And you know, people say, "What do I do?" And I say, "I deal in workplace psychology, but I never use the word psychologist." So I'd be honoured enough to be a certified business psychologist, having already been allowed to call myself a principal business psychologist. So the auto transition over to CBP is almost enough, but I feel I should be pushing myself to see if I would qualify for the principal version. But again, I feel I haven't got the psychology qualifications to back it up as such, or I haven't got a master's, I'm not chartered, I'm only a chartered CIPD person. And also a lot of what I do is quite bitty, so I do assessments, I do outplacement, I design processes for businesses, but some of it hasn't been recent, certainly not in the last year. So I don't know who to go to for a reference or anything like that. So I've kind of thought that pushes me back to think I'll just be grateful with CBP.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a common issue.
Yeah, we've had the qualification element come up a few times, but when you know, we're not looking to exclude people from, you know, applying for that next level. But yeah, I can see kind of the difficulties that you're facing and what to go. I guess I'm going to ask for Steve. I ask Steve every time for any of these queries, so I didn't want to say something wrong in front of him, like you're down a.
I'm sorry, Jade. I don't mean to create that.
I like it. I like that you're here. You're backing up what I hope people say. But what would you say in that scenario? Because that's a good question, isn't it? Around having the confidence to find the evidence to demonstrate.
Yeah, first of all, Sue, I'd say, you know, me too. I don't have a master's in occupational psychology. So when I applied for fellow, which might seem a bit strange, but, you know, we've got enough of a proper objective process that I could do that. And I put in loads of evidence of my understanding and knowledge of psychology and business, because I don't have any other qualifications really that support it. So I had to do it through that route. So if you feel like, yeah, it's all there, I just need to kind of write it down. And of course, actually writing it down is valuable as well, because it kind of gets it, you know, it's a learning thing for yourself. So I wouldn't, you know, it is designed, the process, to be inclusive of whatever background you've come through, and there are clear criteria. So if you look at the criteria and think, yeah, I've done that, I just need to gather the evidence and I can show it, then great. And equally, I'll just say it, there is the transition, which is this, you know, it's I would say it's bargain basement, you know, cost of transition given the normal prices. But if you think, you know, and I haven't offered this yet to general membership, but Shibani, this is something we might want to offer. If you want a mentor to kind of support you through the process, I think we should be you know, offering that for an additional fee. You know, I mean, as part of the normal process, it's £600 for a mentor, but it means that you've got someone that'll hold your hand through the process, and then I think that's an option. So if that's something you wanted to consider, then, you know, I would you know, talk to Jade again, or you know.
Yeah, on that, in terms of the discount, like I think what we're offering for this year in the transition is really, you know, it's really inexpensive when you compare to, you know, BPS and other areas. And I think they take the opportunity this year, if anything, so to kind of build that evidence up and take advantage of the price. And if you need a mentor, that's a good idea. But I don't think you should discount yourself from if you think you've got it. You obviously do think you've got it. It's just having that confidence to go for it. And I think you should take advantage of this year and do it.
Because we also have this approved or not yet approved approach. Yeah, we don't have no. as an answer,
I like this.
except in extreme circumstances. So just think like that. And of course, we also don't have, oh, you didn't, you know, you need, if you're not approved at a certain level, we don't then say, oh, but you can have the level below. It doesn't work like that either. But it is approved or not yet approved, and you can resubmit within a year without any other charges. Okay, so you get feedback that then you can, and so we're giving quite a lot of feedback to people because, you know, they're just not providing the right level of evidence. But we're not just going back and saying no, we're trying to be supportive and have it as part of a continuing professional development. And to just connect with Susan's question about the fees, and yeah, we need to be clearer about this. So the ABP membership fee is completely unrelated to this. Yeah, so your fee doesn't change as a result. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to membership fees, but there's been no talk about increasing them, you know, and they're already very low, I think. So yeah, it's a different thing. Certification and membership is a different thing.
I guess the point of kind of this transition as well to align, isn't it, more to that kind of accreditation status. Cool.
Yes, Susan.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Sue?
No.
Yeah. Sorry, I have I have submitted the CPP application. I did that really fast, and then I thought, what am I doing? So I mean, if I get approved, is that? But then I, between now and June, think, okay, I'm going for the next one. Can I resubmit? I assume, and say I am this, but now I'm going to go for next. Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, because is everyone okay with the member login area and the transition? Kind of, it's quite simple, I think. The portal, that's something we work really hard on, Steve, isn't it, in terms of making that really agile and easy to follow.
Well, we tried.
These videos as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Susan.
Yeah. So Sue, obviously, you'd also have to pay for the middle one. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, Susan. Go on.
Oh, Susan, I was speaking to you too. Hi, are you okay?
Yeah, I know we're going to see each other shortly, but I just was suggested I sort of hop on here. I just wanted to clarify, just so that I'm absolutely clear, the cost for certification, is that something that one pays annually, or is that a one-off? Because
a one-off.
Yeah,
that's a one-off. Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that, which would, you know, impact my decision about, you know, what to go for. Thank you very much. I've got a meeting with Jade shortly, so I'll just say thank you for letting me join. Bye-bye.
No problem. See you there. See you too.
Thanks, Susan.
Bye. Yeah, that's a really key point. I've had that quite a few times around the cost for the transition is the cost. You know, that's just the one-off to make sure that you're at the appropriate level. And then, you know, the membership fee is separate and it's yearly, but I've had that quite a few times. That makes things sound a bit better. Excellent. Okay.
Just out of interest, to follow up on what you said just a moment ago about not putting people down a level if they over applied, should we say, would you consider doing it? If I really pushed the boat out and thought, blow it, let's go for fellowship, and you thought, nah, could I then say, well, have I met the criteria for the principal level? And you say yes, potentially. Yeah, so you would have to reapply at the middle level, and you'd have to pay again. Ah, right, okay. So you could do it. You could do it, and it's, let's face it, at the moment it's £400 rather than, oh no, because fellow is more anyway, because fellow is £625. But yeah, I mean, you could, we want to avoid exactly what you said, that people just go in high. We want people to go based on, look, there's very clear criteria here, and you can always have a conversation with us to see how, what we think are the things to pay attention to. But yeah, we don't, you'd have to reapply. And of course you could do that. You could take the evidence and submit it again and pay again, but we would assess it again against that level.
I guess a lot of the cost goes towards the QA side, the quality assurance, like making sure it's the right level and comes out with the right feedback. And that's where, that's predominantly what the cost is due to cover. Okay. So I guess it would have to be reassessed to make sure it was exactly the right level for you.
Yeah.
Well, good question though. Anyone else have a particular question?
Quick question from me. I belong to a group called Special Group in Coaching Psychology. I see that one of my colleagues, Margaret McAfee, is also on. Hello, Margaret. A chartered, and my colleagues there in the peer practice group, most of them are chartered with the BPS. Does a chartered psychologist of any denomination have automatic access and routes to, I'm not chartered myself, but many of the people I know are, would they have automatic, an automatic A to B route, if you will, by virtue of being chartered?
Yeah, that's come up as well, hasn't it, the last week?
Yeah, I'll answer this.
Yeah.
We've the short answer is yes, actually, but we haven't yet communicated that because we haven't fully defined it. But it looks like what we're going to say is, if you can either prove that you're HCPC registered, and/or you've got stage 2 BPS, and you send us the letter and a screenshot of HCPC registration, then what we'll ask you to do is to just submit a little bit of almost like, it's not so much evidence, it's just we want people to connect with the ABP values. So we will say, give us your, a little bit on each of the values and how you're connected to that. And either, if you're HCPC registered, then you have to do ongoing, you have to do CPD. So copy and paste that to us so we can see that you're doing that. If you're not HCPC, then we need a bit of evidence of CPD. So yeah, we haven't announced that yet, but more than likely that's going to be an auto transition to the middle level.
That's very interesting, because that's on the psychological, that's showing expertise in psychology, but there's the business bit that isn't shown as an expertise there. So the question I'm asking is, with me as a chartered fellow of the CMI, where I'm demonstrably very expert in management and all that, would that also get auto?
So Julian, it is specific to the BPS occupational psychology. So it doesn't apply to clinical and forensic and all the other psychologies. Yeah, your point is a valid one. And of course, in applying, you'd probably have to put less into the boxes about commercial stuff, the professional practice, because you can say, look, I'm chartered with the CMI. It's almost enough evidence of that. You'd probably put a bit more in, but you see what I mean? That's why it's hard to say this is how much evidence we need.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that question has come up last week actually a few times.
I think James has been trying to say something.
Oh, sorry.
Funnily enough, you just preempted the question I was going to ask. Because I'm assuming you've had a lot of conversations about chartered occupational psychologists and their transition. So I think you just pretty much explained that already.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it's just taken us time to work it through, and yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Anyone else for query?
Can I ask what the criteria might be for rating myself as an expert versus someone with good knowledge? I mean, essentially, I'm a specialist in 2 key areas, but the word expert to me conjures up professorship and masses of research and books and articles. So I'm kind of thinking, oh, well, that's a bit highfalutin and perhaps it's a bit of a stretch. So I'm not quite sure where to go with the rating of 4 versus 3.
Yeah, that's. I'll let you do this, Steve.
No, go on. You say.
No, because the one thing of the transition with me and myself is trying to get my head around the framework, to be honest, and what contributes as 4-3, and I've had to transition myself as well and go through the process. But I think that's a fellow level, I would say, if what you've just said around kind of, I don't know where I'm going with this. Might need to help me with this one, Steve, because this is what really throws me with the queries, is the evidence and what is the difference.
I was actually just going to get my my submission up and think, which ones did I put a 4 against?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love your point, Alison. It's like, what are we really expert as? And almost the more we learn about something, the less expert we feel in it. So, yeah, I think it's if you're specializing in 2 areas, then that by itself, I would say, is up at the expert level. Yeah, because you're trying to put you're putting your heart and soul into it compared to others, and given that there's only 4 choices across it, then I would be putting expert in it. And I do acknowledge your point, and I would say, yeah, we don't mean you're a world-renowned expert. It means that this is something you've been spending enough time on that you're confident talking about it, and there isn't that much you don't know about it.
I think
until
it's the
you really
time.
dig into the surface.
I think years to time invested, what you do, I think that's a big kind of difference, isn't it? Around if you've been doing it for 10 years and you know it inside out, like you are definitely an expert, aren't you? So I think time has a lot to do with that, and can factor that in. And I think we use that measurement anyway, don't we, in terms of what does a CPB look like? I've got my master's in psychology, but I've only really got 3 years experience in my field, and a lot of that has changed over the last 3 years. And I found myself doing more in OD than anything. But if you've got like 5-10 years, 15 years experience, and you're definitely an expert, aren't you?
So I'd like to build on what you're saying, Jade, because I think what you're saying is perfectly valid, and we're trying to take time out of it as well. Because if you've totally dived into something for a year, like completely immersed yourself in it for a year, that has meaning too. So time is an interesting thing, isn't it? So yeah, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, just the way it's been is that time has been one of the things we've taken into account for the 2 levels, practitioner and principal. So we've got to transition past it, but now it's there, so it gives us a bit of a guide.
Yeah. Yeah, some really good questions coming out today that have actually been making me think. It's a very it's an interesting process, isn't it, in itself?
I think the fellow, I'll say a few things about fellow, because what's difference between the middle and the top one, and there's no one answer to that, and we've obviously got the criteria, but the way I see it is that fellow, you're moving from kind of mentoring in the profession, and you kind of really know what you're doing in the profession, which is the middle one, through to you're starting to influence and shape the profession in ways that have had a real impact. So you've done some research which the whole industry has paid attention to. You've created a tool which you're not just using on your programs, it's being adopted globally, or across the entire of government or something. It's like you've done something that's had a big impact. I'm thinking about I love this little story of someone who won an award a few years ago, did some research into, some of you may even remember this, did some research into what happens if you take the doors on trucks and make them all window rather than a third window. What does that do to their field of vision, to their behavior, as in, do they stop more quickly? Do they see things more? To their stopping distances, and then to how many lives it would save, predicted. You then, if you take that and go forward to, right, now X percentage of lorry cabs now use that research as the basis for the design of the cabs, and that's resulted, even if we don't know for sure, but theoretically in this number of saved lives, that for me by itself is almost a fellow type, piece of research in terms of impact on, the world through taking an evidence-based research approach and implementing it in the world. So, I think again, it's very broad, but have I had a big impact on the industry in some way? Then you might want to be thinking about fellow.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to sum up fellow, actually, because I've asked you some advice around fellow and what that really means. But yeah, I think that it's what you said that really reverberates to me is the kind of impact. It's the impact measurement, isn't it? Good. Is anyone interested in applying for the fellow? Is anyone thinking about doing that? Cool. So it sounds like it's good, and equally as good, your experienced professionals. Is anyone looking? It sounds like it might be the C. So you see, we've got some CBPs here. Has anyone actually transitioned already? Actually, that's a good question. Have you all, except for you, Sue? Obviously, you've gone to CBP. Has anyone actually carried out their application, or are you kind of just all deciding what to do at the moment? Deciding.
I accidentally paid because I was just a bit confused and I pressed the wrong button, and then I thought I had to pay to become a CBP. And so anyway, the other Jade rectified that immediately. So so really now I've gone back in, I've downloaded the form because I really want to read everything and make sure that it's the right decision for me, you know, because I'm already a coaching psychologist. So the question is, and it's actually, this is a wonderful process. So I applaud you all, because I've automatically, and I don't know, that probably the same with all of you in all of your different worlds that you work in. For me, it's so automatic to bring psychology into everything that I do, because of my qualifications, that I actually really take for granted everything that I do and all the models and everything that I use completely automatically. But I'm now asking myself, am I more a business psychologist or am I more a coaching psychologist? Because the division of BPS is now talking about introducing a new division of coaching psychology. So there's going to be a whole new process with that, because up until now it hasn't really been recognized there. So there are quite a few people who don't really know where they fit in. So now I've always felt like a square peg in a round hole with being an occupational psychologist, but being much more savvy in business and coaching. And so now I'm really trying to understand, well, what is it that I do? Where do I belong? Where do I fit in? And actually, why haven't I been doing more for the ABP? I've only just realized that you have a LinkedIn group, and I wasn't part of that. And I'm actually quite active on quite a few forums, and I'm wondering, well, why haven't I got more involved with you guys? You know, so I guess I'm now having more of an appreciation of that aspect of me and my role and my identity. And I'm wondering, well, how far should I take this, and what more can I do? So I think it's really come at the right time. So thank you very much.
That sounds really inspiring. I like that. I wish we could just capture that and put it on the website. I'm
sure lovely. It's the same for everyone else who belong to the CIPD or belong to the management associations. We all come to it and we bring, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and we all have a little piece of that puzzle, but it's how much of that puzzle is actually part of your identity or your working identity.
I think this changes.
Heather, of course, we're trying to be inclusive of, you know, all of those, and the thing that holds it together is, of course, the business side and the psychology side, and there's many ways that can come together. We also, by the way, are also exploring the same. I didn't know the BPS was doing that, but we're exploring the same. So, you know, accrediting coaching psychology master's programs, and considering offering a coaching psychologist you know, certification as well. So if you if that makes you think, ooh, and you want to have a further conversation about that, then let me know, or I can put you in touch with, or it might be even worth talking to Alex Forsyth or Dawn Nicholson, who is kind of, they're both following that path at the moment.
Yeah. It might be interesting because, as I said with Margaret, Margaret is a facilitator for the psychology peer practice group. And we have people come along to talk and speak. We have speakers once a quarter. So it might be interesting actually to have somebody from the ABP come along, even if it's just for 20 minutes or half an hour. It's something certainly that I could propose, because I'm sure that there would be interest there too, especially for the coaching psychology route. So we could talk about that offline.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I'll reach out to you. I've got your email address, I think. So I'll reach out to you, and we'll continue that discussion. And Margaret, we've met a few times as well, haven't we? So.
Yes, we have. Yeah. Excellent. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, there's certainly an appetite to really engage with the psychology community to look at professional coaching and how we can really get accreditation within our bases as well, because I think we're missing the trick in that all the other accrediting bodies are really high profile and they become essential if you want to win work.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's very helpful to know, and yeah, watch this space.
Okay, so I was writing some notes down. Any other queries?
I was just wondering, actually, as you review all the applications for the various different levels, are you intending as a society to look at where the gaps are potentially, where are people, relatively speaking, weaker on certain aspects, and really target the training development through the body to impact and help us all move up a level, if you like?
Oh my God, yes, totally. That's the aim. That's always been the aim, that you have this, because training is really hard to get any momentum around it because of our numbers, and because there's so many things you can go on, right? It's like it's just a very saturated market. So one vision for that is you connect it very much, the training and whatever that we offer, to the underlying business psychology framework and to the gaps that you say. Yes, that's a vision, I think. Yeah.
Oh, one further question I've just thought of. If I was to apply tomorrow, I won't, but having done all my evidence stuff and dropped it in, what's the time frame for turnaround to say, yep, you've got it?
We spoke about this last week, Steve, didn't we? It's looking around, I think, like 5 days, 5 to 7. It depends, I guess, on how many applications come in, because obviously there's a certain amount of time it's required to go through the assessors to go through and make sure everything's going the right way. But I had in my head about 5 to 7 days. Am I still right in saying that, Steve?
I'd say we've had quite a lot coming through, so I'd be a little bit less optimistic.
Okay, so that sounds good.
It really depends on the assessor's availability. So I would say it is possible. I can think of one that applied yesterday or 2 days ago, and they got a response 2 days later. So it could be like that, but it was we need more information, not a approved. So I would say 7 is your minimum for being approved, because it's got to be go through 2 people, and we're not committing, but trying within 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, thanks.
I did fill mine out on the 9th of February, but I didn't get an acknowledgement. I don't know if that means it makes me think, or maybe it's not when it's not.
Was that for the CBP?
Yes, it was
transition. So it probably is held, because there are some that are just where they're a bit grey. And so we just want to sorry, just do a a second look and say, okay, because every time you make a decision, that sets a precedent. So if it's not been responded to, so it'll be because it either it seemed not as clear as to just say sure.
So if at that point, would you say, because that was the lower level, would you say actually it might be in my case that I'm not even that level, but would you also say to somebody you could go higher?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the criteria for Sue, sorry, I don't have what you had in mind, but the criteria for the auto transition is very clear, right? It's a master's in occupational psychology, really, and 5 years of experience. And anything else we're sort of thinking twice about. Whereas, it could well be, Julian is a number of you are examples of this, right? Where it's not saying you're not at that level, it's saying that we can't take the auto transition route to clarify that. So, so hence then, if that's the case, then it just requires more evidence. It's certainly not implying you're not at that level. It's sort of computer says no, but we say yes, please come and talk to us more.
Thank you.
No worries. Anything else we can help with?
No.
No.
Would it be possible just to elaborate a bit more on the kind of evidence you're looking for in the values section?
Oh yeah. Again, that's more. Steve, you can feed into that.
Yeah, sure. Look, first of all, it's a small thing, right? The values. It's not like we're pinning everything on that. It's more that it's there. We try to have it lead us, and so want to connect you in with it. So I would say, it's kind of what you call secondary evidence, and it's more that you've just gone through the thinking, yeah, actually, what is it that I'm doing that's inclusive? What is it that I'm doing either to build my own capability or to help and support others in doing that? What is it that I'm doing to promote my practice? And it's unlikely to be the thing that is a go, no go, if you like. But it's just to do that bit of reflection.
Okay. Thanks.
This has been really interesting for my sake as well, to be honest, to kind of hear the level of queries and how it's really good to talk through your thoughts.
I mean, we've had quite a few who have gone, I do this, I do this, I do this.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is not enough, right?
How do we know that you do it? Yeah.
Well, and what's the evidence that says you do it? If you're a business psychologist, saying I do this is not enough, right? It's got to be supported by something more than that. That's not entirely true, of course. Saying I do it is, but just saying that I do this and not providing the evidence of where and when and what you mean by I do this is not acceptable.
Good point. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Again, I handle queries, although I might not be to answer them entirely to the level, but I work feed into Steve, and so if there's anything else that you think of after this, don't be afraid to email me on my ABP address, and yeah, hopefully we can just help you transition quite seamlessly.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That
Thanks
was
for
very
coming
helpful.
on.
Yeah.
Great to see you all.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Have a good day.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop recording.